Hello, hello. How's it going, everyone? Morning. Morning. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're all doing well. Not long to go until the sprint race gets underway as drivers are making their way around for their sighting laps. So, yes, or should we just say one lap, I presume. I don't think they'll be doing multiple laps, but evening, Rob. It feels weird to say evening when it's like not even, it's only 10:30 in the morning here in the UK. But welcome everyone. Yes, drivers just making their way round to their grid slots. I imagine it is only the one lap that they'll be doing. So yes, do not fear, the race has not got underway yet. You are ahead of the game. Why is my chat not working? I'll sort myself out shortly. How am I doing? I'm doing very well. I'm doing very well. Yes, I've had a couple of coffees this morning. I've been up since 7 a.m. with little one. She's now napping at the moment. So yeah, she's been all looked after and ready for a busy day of F1 ahead. So yeah, looking forward to it. Weather update, guys. It is dry conditions at the moment. So if I move this over, rain is there for some reason. I don't know why it's so far over. But yeah, it's not raining at the moment, put it that way. So I'll keep you guys updated on whether or not there is any rain. But the weather forecast for today that I checked is saying that we've only got a 15% chance of rain in the afternoon. So it could be a dry day again. Could be a dry day again today, which is something that we didn't expect. But as we mentioned, it's going to make things very interesting because will teams go for more downforce this afternoon in relation to, of course, the weather that is still looking tomorrow very wet. So you're a big feeling Piastri wins today, though. Lance has a shot of good finish. I think if Piastri leads into turn 5, so the end of the Kemmel Straight into Lake Coombe, if he leads into that section or out of that section ahead of Max Verstappen and his teammate Lando Norris, I think he wins comfortably. Yeah, I don't think he ever looks back. So, James, thank you for the 19th. 19 months, man. How time flies. Welcome back, buddy. The shirt has been retired. Yeah, the shirt is in the washing basket at the moment, so don't worry, Ferrari fans. It's the only way is up. The only way is up. Thank you for making your mod. No worries. I did say I'm a man of my word. I'm a man of my word. Could Lewis get points today? No, is the short answer. No. There are only 8 points on offer. Remember, a sprint race is called a sprint for a reason. Only 15 laps, as you can see from the top of your screen there. And yeah, that is not going to leave drivers a lot of opportunity here, especially with them all being on the same tyre, no doubt as well. There's not going to be any opportunities for pit stops, offsets, and so forth. So yeah, only the top 8 can score points. So for Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari, and for many of those down towards the bottom, Antonelli, Colapinto, etc., Hulkenberg, it's about just dialing in their setups and ensuring that they can figure things out for qualifying this afternoon and for the race tomorrow. Who do I... sorry, I already said who I think will win the sprint. Alan, welcome back to the pit crew, buddy. Look at that red subscription badge. Over 2 months. Welcome, man. Welcome, man. Why are the Haas so quick, Kelvin? So the Haas have... So this is a very unique circuit, as we mentioned. So the majority of the lap is on 70% full throttle. So you want a lower downforce setup, really. That's what you want here. You can sacrifice time in the middle sector so that you can be quick where it matters to overtake and defend. And that has been Haas's approach. And they have been significantly quick, in particular in that first sector. And so any time loss that they have in the middle sector is negated by the gains that they're getting from the first sector and in the last sector as well. And they seem to be pretty dab handy in the bus stop chicane, so they're not losing too much time across the remainder of the track compared to what they are in the middle. So yeah, very, very good. All on merit. They've made the right setup choices, and clearly with it being dry today, the the weather gods have clearly answered their prayers, because if it was wet weather conditions today for this sprint race, it would have been very tricky for them. Like we saw Max Verstappen struggle with at Silverstone, but it would have been even more tricky for them here because of how much so they have taken off of the downforce of their car. Oscar beat the track record yesterday by 7 tenths. That's unbelievable. Like, the W11 was absolutely an unreal car, and Oscar yesterday, just watching these onboard was just so easy. It was so easy. Hey Purist, how's it going? Love watching the iRacing stream and the Super Formula. Good to see me back on the service. My pleasure, Purist. Yeah, I'm hoping to get a few more races in before the week is out, because I do love Road America. So it was good. I really enjoyed it. Your boyfriend's at Spa and you're watching from your house. Long distance problems. Ah, unbelievable. Why didn't he not buy you a ticket? That's the question I'd be asking. Rude. Thank you, Marcio. W11 did wet setup in dry track. Oh, was that what it was? Cool. Are you seriously? Was that the case? I don't know. But even so, I mean, these cars, considering how heavy they are, how big they are, the fact that they are so quick is ridiculous. And arguably, some would say they're too quick, because they give off too much dirty air. An F1 car shouldn't be this quick, because it throws off. The only way to make an F1 car this quick is to have more downfalls, which throws off more dirty air. And ultimately, we want to watch racing, don't we? And that's what makes racing difficult. So, Spa is a great track. Yeah, I love Spa. I think it's a brilliant track, and I'm hoping we actually get some racing here. It does seem to be there's maybe a difference in setups. I'm intrigued to see how Norris gets on. I think that's going to be an intriguing battle today. I do think Piastri is going to win this comfortably. Looking at the pace that he's had over his teammate and over Max Verstappen for the majority of this, all of yesterday, he looks comfortable. It looks like a track. It's like what the Red Bull Ring is to Norris. This track, Piastri absolutely loves. And he's the only one who can stop him from winning this, I think, with a poor start, allowing Max to get ahead of him into turn 5 at the start of this race. But if he leads at the end of turn 5, he'll be comfortable to the end. Now, the battle that I'm intrigued about is Norris with Verstappen, because Verstappen has that more straight line speed in that car. He is quicker in a straight line. He's quicker in the first sector and the last sector compared to Lando. So I'd be intrigued to see if Lando can dispatch Max Verstappen when it comes to it. And someone said yesterday we haven't seen Max Verstappen and Lando Norris go wheel to wheel for some time to see how they would fare. Well, maybe getting our answer today. So, is Colapinto starting from the pit lane? Yes. Yeah. No point in him starting. I mean, he qualified 19th. So there's no point. They made some setup changes to his car, and that's why he's starting from the pit lane. So yeah. Morning, Glenn. Good to see you. Morning, Stefano. Yes, welcome everyone. Hope you're well. 21 minutes until this sprint race gets underway. The formation lap of the sprint race gets underway. At the moment, get your votes in, guys. Who do you think is going to win this sprint race? Piastri, overwhelmingly favourite at the moment, 58%. Verstappen, 23%. Norris, 12%. And Leclerc, who qualified in 4th, 8%. So we have seen incident here in the past at Spa. So that's not to say that we won't see incident again. And we did see some moments in qualifying yesterday as well. So it can be a little bit sketchy out there. Lando P2 comfortable. You think, Karen? I mean, I still think it will be. I mean, Max has his hopes very down. He's very downbeat on his hopes. People, myself included, were like, oh, the run that he's going to get down into turn 5. I think that's his only opportunity at the start of the race. After that, he said, they're half a second quicker. So he goes, it doesn't matter if I'm quick in the straights. If they're half a second quicker over the whole lap, I can't do anything with that. So how does starting from the pit lane work? So they have to wait for... So basically, if you break Parc Fermé rules, you start from the pit lane. So that means changing anything on your setup, like parts. You can change like front wing angle, I think. That's like the only thing that you can kind of really change. I think there's some other elements as well, but they're very minimal changes. Any large changes, so like suspension, brakes, etc., front wing change, rear wing change, all that sort of stuff, aero packages, that means that you have to start from the pit lane. So what happens is that you line up at the end of the pit lane and you have to wait for everyone to come past the pit lane exit before you're able to join and exit the pit lane onto the track. So, you know why you are not wearing a Ferrari shirt? Yeah, I can't do it to you guys again. I can't do it to you guys again. There may be a curse. I don't believe in such things, but there may be after yesterday. Although Leclerc's up there in P4, so. If the skies open up mid-session like Spa loves to do, who's your bet to master the chaos and who's most likely to bin it into the barriers? I think the McLarens will master it. I think wet weather conditions will favour the McLarens, probably even more so because they've got more downforce on their car compared to everyone else. They've got such a well-balanced car that they've always, throughout this season, been able to run more downforce on their packages, which has helped them be so good at many circuits. Whereas the other teams have had to make compromises somewhere. Like Max Verstappen, Ocon, Leclerc, they're running much skinnier rear wings. They're quicker in a straight line. They are not going to want it to rain. Sorry, the last thing they're going to want is for it to rain because they'll be in trouble. Where do I expect Lewis to finish? Part of me thinks he's still not comfortable in the car. No, he's definitely not comfortable in the car. Lewis, to be honest, he probably doesn't care where he finishes. He's not in... There's only the top 8 can score points. He'll just be looking to feel more comfortable in the car and look at having more raw pace. In effect, this is just a glorified practice session for Lewis Hamilton. He's looking to see if they can make improvements on the car for qualifying this afternoon and, of course, for the race tomorrow. That's where he'll be looking. There's still... I've seen reports that apparently Fred Vasseur said that Lewis potentially just braked too hard. But there's no still proper confirmation of what was the exact cause of Lewis's issue there. Was it driver error? Was there something more to it? I've seen some comments where they've said that they've been trying to manage. There's potentially the brake bias is too rearwards, which would cause rear locking, of course. And that the Ferrari team are managing turning with their brakes at the moment because of suspension issues or something. So yeah, that's potentially a cause, but no actual confirmation properly yet, as we probably won't get, to be honest with you, unless Lewis comes out and lets us know what actually caused it. So morning, Dan, good to see you. No rain, Danny, no rain at the moment. No, it is dry out there. Blue skies, some cloud in the air, but yeah, no rain forecast for today, actually. For the most of today, we could get some rain in the afternoon for qualifying. But the session itself here for the sprint race is looking like it's going to be bone dry. Where's the shirt? It's just, no, stop it, guys. Stop it. If I put it on, you ask me to take it off. If I've not got it on, you want it on? She's very good, Peter. She's very good. Still having her morning nap. Do I think we can see another overtake from Max on Piastri like in Imola? I think so, yes. Yeah, I think if Max gets a decent start and he's tucked up behind Piastri, I think he's got a very good opportunity of slingshotting by him into turn 5. We'll see, though. We will see. Lewis's strength is in his braking. Ferrari need to make that car work with that. Yeah, I mean, look, he's, as I said yesterday, there's a lot more regular comments now from Lewis that I've picked up on in interviews where he is saying, this isn't my car. This isn't my car, and reiterating that and saying he's having a hand in the development of 2026. So he's very much like, look, the issues, and he doesn't really do that normally. Like, if you look at his Mercedes era, because of course it was kind of his car in the day because he was having a hand in the development, but he never really parted the blame or imparted the blame at Mercedes onto others. It was always more so on himself and looking at them improving. Whereas here, he's like, no, it's not me. It's the fact of it. This isn't my car. I've had no part in the development of the car. 2026 is more so where you can hold me to be more accountable because I've had input on the development of the car. So, which is just intriguing. So, I had low expectations for Lewis this season anyway, because Ferrari have clearly, as we said, made a wrong step in the direction of their concept for this year, considering they had a good platform last year. Yes, all the cars have improved and got quicker, but still, you look at McLaren, they've continued on with their concept, and yes, they've obviously made changes, but they're clearly the fastest right now, whereas Ferrari were on level playing field with McLaren for the majority of the end of last season. And look at where they are now. So Have I burnt the shirt? No, I pay good money for that shirt. They also have that new rear suspension, but agree with my take on it. Yeah, I mean, the rear suspension, supposedly it is the fact of it that because of this new rear suspension, they're having to manage the turning of the car. So the weight shift of the car is not, or something to do with I saw it briefly in an article somewhere saying that it's been the case for a little while where Ferrari have been trying to manage the turning of the car through the brakes, as you kind of do, but more so than they want to, of course, allowing rather than the car doing it naturally, and that means that they're having to turn the rear brakes to the brakes rearward or something because the rear suspension isn't doing what it should be doing, even with this new one that they supposedly got on this weekend. So yeah, weird times for Ferrari, weird times. Don't think it's very positive. I think they'll be fully focused on Monza now, to be honest, and just bringing in that low downforce package, that mega Monza package that they always bring along, don't they? That'll be the one that they'll be hoping to aim for, and that's it really, their chances for this season. This could be a super exciting race, Mike, with Oscar and Max on contra setups. Max needs to be ahead each lap at Les Combes, otherwise Oscar is going to tail off. He needs to be ahead at the end. He needs to be ahead at the first lap into Les Combes. If Oscar leads at the end, if Oscar leads into turn 5, see ya, Max, because he's going to pull out. He's going to pull out nearly a full second. You watch. Oscar leads into turn 5. If he does, he will be outside of the DRS of Max Verstappen by the end of the first lap. Comfortably. Because there's also the dirty air that Max will have to deal with on a lower downforce setup, which would mean a bit more sliding for him, of course, in that middle sector. Which means he's going to have to lift off a little bit for the likes of Pouon, etc., and take some speed off of the car to ensure that he stays within track limits and keeps the car pointing forwards. That's all time that he's going to bleed while Oscar Piastri is out up front in clean air on a superior package. So it wasn't a waste of money, Dan. Shh. Ferrari got a communication problem. Ferrari have a lot of problems within the team, unfortunately. So you heard somewhere Norris has an upgrade package that Oscar doesn't have for Spa. I don't know about that. I mean, look, what we have seen for this season is that sometimes there's been updates that have come to the McLaren and they've tested them, and Oscar hasn't liked the way that they've altered the car and the way that it drives, and he's decided against those being on the car, and Norris has taken them because it has suited his driving style more or made him feel more comfortable in the car. So updates aren't always necessarily to make the car quicker. It's sometimes to balance the car off, and sometimes one driver prefers it over another. So yeah, I don't know about actual updates to the car for McLaren this weekend, but look, what you can't deny is that Oscar is on form and he is a man confident at this track. And well, Norris needs to get ahead of Verstappen to at least ensure that heading into qualifying later on and the race tomorrow, he is only 9 points behind his teammate in the championship. It currently sits at 8. 0% chance of rain is what we just saw. So if I scroll down here, there you go. You can see 0% chance of rain for the sprint race. Not often you see that at Spa. So why is Gasly starting from the pit lane? Oh dear, yes, Gasly. So double Alpine start from the pit lane. That's odd. I'm not sure why that is, actually. That's brand new information. What has occurred there with Gasly? That's a real shame if Gasly does have to start from the pit lane, because he is... Yeah, they don't know yet. He was on the grid, and then he's been pushed back into the pit lane. So there's clearly a fault with the Alpine of Pierre Gasly, which is a real shame for him, because he is doing wonderful things in that car at the moment to get it into Q3. And for him to start outside of that now and start alongside his teammate in the pit lane is an absolute shocker for him, because he was in the last point scoring position there in P8. So Max fans always downplay other drivers' skills. I do think that there is that sort. I think people do of any fan base, to be honest with you. I've always said this about Max fans, is that they're very good at being vocal online. They're very, very vocal. And you see a lot of them on your feed. But I think a lot of fans are like that, because you want to back your guy at the end of the day. Do I think Haas will be in the mix for qualifying? Not so much, Carl. Not so much, no, because I think teams are going to have to take off some downfall, are going to add some downfall, sorry, when it comes to qualifying this afternoon, because the weather report for Sunday is rain all day. So I don't think they can get away with risking a low downforce package for qualifying tomorrow, this afternoon, because it absolutely tips down on Sunday. You're just guaranteeing yourself to go into the wall, to be honest with you. So I think, yeah, we're going to see a change up of the order this afternoon, because I think we'll see wet setups in dry conditions, and I don't think the strategy of trying to gain track position at a circuit like Spa, like we saw Max try to do at Silverstone, I don't think that's a viable tactic for what the weather report is indicating, and at this track for Sunday. Alpine are such a mean team. Well, I got some well, I've been informed of a rumour, and I don't normally deal with rumours, but this is a rumour that has come from the Alpine factory, that Otmar, with the backing of Hyundai, is going to be buying Alpine by the end of the year, and that Flavio Briatore is going to be out in the summer break. That's the rumours floating around in the Alpine factory at the moment. Whether it's true or not, of course, they're still just rumours. They can still be wrong. But supposedly Hyundai are the backers of Otmar, who could be buying Alpine. So, yeah. Do I get on with Matt and Tommy? I don't know them, Stuffeyy, no. I've never met them. I've never spoken to them. But I do listen to their stuff, yeah. Do I think today's sprint will give us a classic wheel-to-wheel madness, or will it just be DRS train with everyone scared of being in it before Sunday? I think we'll see not wheel-to-wheel madness, but I think we'll see, well, lots of wheels here. I think we will see wheel-to-wheel racing. Spa always provides that. Spa always provides it. So yeah. Plus, also, we don't know how the tyres are going to last as well. The mediums, the C3. I imagine everyone's going to be starting on the C3 tyre. So, yeah, we'll see how that fares for them. We still don't know why Gasly's starting in the pit lane. I still don't know yet. I'm trying to find out that information for you. Let me see if it has been relayed yet. A suspected water leak for Gasly. And they will try and rectify it in the pit lane before the start. So Gasly might not even start the race. Man, that's a shocker for him if that's the case. That is an absolute shocker. Yeah. That'll be a real shame, because he doesn't deserve that. But then I guess that's the Renault engine for you, isn't it? Hence why they're moving to Mercedes for next season. I definitely have a different vibe, not just because you're solo and interact with the chat as your co-host. It's awesome. Yeah, look, as we always say here, I consume lots of other F1 content as well. I'm on the Missed Apex podcast. I've got to do something for the Missed Apex podcast. I'm on the race review tomorrow night, and I've got to do a race review of this afterwards as well. But yeah, no, look, what we do here is unique. It's different to what others do, and that's not to say that what I do here is right and others is wrong. Other channels out there are successful for what they do, but you can only concentrate on yourself, and yeah, I think that's what we do here. So, and it's clearly successful because you guys tune in, and there's 850 of you in here before the race even begins on a Saturday morning here in the UK, listening to me waffle on. So, is it rainy? No rain forecast for this sprint race. However, there is an outside chance of rain this afternoon, guys. So we have just over 5 minutes until the session begins. So the breaking information is that Pierre Gasly is going to be starting from the pit lane at minimum. He may not even start this race. So he got to the grid and he has a suspected water leak that they are trying to fix and repair in the pit lane. So it is going to be a double pit lane start for Pierre Gasly and Colapinto, the two Alpines. Of course, Colapinto qualified in 19th yesterday. He'll now be demoted to 20th. So that's a real shame, especially for Pierre Gasly, because how he's dragging that Alpine into Q3 week in, week out at the moment. I've lost count of how many times he's done that. I've been make a good video, to be fair, because he is just doing wonders in that car. And he has no right to be fighting for points week in, week out like he's doing, because it is shocking at the moment. So Thank you, Jarvis. Thank you. Thank you, Carl, as well. Much appreciated. Wear my Ferrari shirt. No, we're not doing it. We're not doing it. Agree with Michael Track. To me, this feels like a lads chat in the pub. Participants rather than viewers. And that's what we try and do. Try and be interactive. Get you guys involved. That's why we do the polls, and that's why we... Plus, I also love F1. I love F1, and I like having this interaction with you all. So, even if we disagree sometimes. Rarely. We rarely disagree, but... I know there's a few of you that are throwing your coffee cups at the screen when I give off some opinions, but it's all fun and games. It'd be a boring place, wouldn't it? It'd be a boring world if we all agreed. So, right, medium compound tyres, unsurprisingly on everyone except for Franco Colapinto. Maybe they are just using Colapinto as a data point to try and see how maybe that soft compound tyre fares over a stint. Of course, it is the C4 here this weekend, and well, it is going to be wet tomorrow. That is what has been forecasted, so we may not even see dry tyres at all tomorrow, but it may be a tyre that is potentially used if the track dries out. So probably a good barometer for Alpine there. But yeah, everyone on pretty much new mediums apart from Verstappen. Interestingly, so how will that fare for Verstappen on a set of used mediums compared to Piastri and Norris, who have brand new mediums available? Charles Leclerc on used, Ocon on used, Sainz is on brand new. So look at those guys who are on new tyres and see if they can get a decent start. Carlos Sainz will be looking to capitalise on having a new set of tyres compared to Esteban Ocon, but we know that the Haas is very quick in that first sector. So he will need to be careful of Ollie Behrman up behind him as well. But the initial launch off the line, how will those used runners fare? It was really Yuki Tsunoda is the driver on there with the oldest set of tyres. 5 laps completed, but not long to go. Not long to go, guys. 3 minutes, just under 3 minutes. So now is your time. I'll go do that myself now, as we've actually just seen the tyres. I'm going to have a quick loo break, quick toilet break. I suggest you guys do the same. Top up your tea, your coffee, your beverages, wherever you are. And maybe beer o'clock, because a number of you watch this from the other side of the world. So, yes, we'll be back in literally 30 seconds, hopefully, before this, with 2.5 minutes remaining until the formation lap gets underway. Here we go. Oh. Right. Who do I think I want to be spending this weekend with? No comment, no comment. Incredible Hulk and Hamilton go up against each other. Only one incredible outcome. Yeah, we'll see, we'll see. Loving their hair, Andrew. Thank you. Right, so less than a minute to go until the formation lap gets underway. I'm going to end the poll. Your last opportunity here, guys, to get your votes in on who you think is going to win this sprint race, because I'm about to end it. At the moment, overwhelmingly is Oscar Piastri. You have Piastri, Verstappen, Norris, and Leclerc. Get your votes in. Are we going to see some drama here in this sprint race? No wet weather forecasted for this morning. So, yes, no shenanigans there. Thankfully, those guys who are on the low downfall setups, the likes of Verstappen, the likes of Ocon, Leclerc, Sainz, Behrman, they'll be happy that it is dry conditions for this morning. But it could be a different story, of course, this afternoon in qualifying, where teams are able to change the setups on their car in preparation for what is no doubt going to be a very wet Sunday. So that's going to be an intriguing qualifying. But there we go. I'm going to end the poll as we have 10 seconds until the formation lap gets underway. Overwhelmingly, Oscar Piastri, 55% of the vote to win this race. I've said it before. I think if he leads at the end of the first lap into turn 5, or on the first lap into turn 5, that long run from turn 1 through Eau Rouge and Radion down the Kemmel Straight to turn 5, if he leads out of Les Combes, I think he will win this race comfortably. He'll just clean air into the distance. But if he doesn't, then it's going to be a different race entirely. It's going to be a different race entirely. So I'm all here for it. I think personally the most interesting race we'll get today is if Verstappen gets past Piastri into turn 5. Otherwise, see you later, Piastri, because we won't see him until the end of 15 laps for this sprint race. But yes, welcome everyone. Hope you are good. Over 1,500 of you. I can see the numbers. I can see you all filtering in. You are in here just in time as we have Spa-Francorchamps, the sprint race for this weekend. We saw Oscar Piastri stick it on pole position yesterday with a record-breaking lap here, 7 tenths quicker than the previous record set by the super quick W11. Absolutely supreme by Oscar Piastri yesterday, sticking 5 tenths, half a second on Max Verstappen in P2, and 6 tenths on his teammate in P3. So that was supreme by Oscar Piastri. Overwhelming favourite for this sprint race. Charles Leclerc in P4, kind of going under the radar really in that Ferrari, but he was around 7.5 tenths back from Oscar Piastri. So the Ferrari not at the races here this weekend. Pretty much what we say each weekend at this season. Unfortunately, Esteban Ocon doing wonders in that Haas. The quickest the Haas were in that first sector. Super quick in a straight line. They'll be difficult to overtake. And they are starting P5 and P7 with Ollie Bearman split by Carlos Sainz. A good qualifying from him finally in SQ3. Pierre Gasly qualified 8th. Wonderful things he's doing in that Alpine at the moment, but unfortunately for him, he has a suspected water leak in his engine, which means that he is at minimum starting from the pit lane. And well, it says he's still in the pit lane, so he might not even be starting this race, which would be a real shame for Pierre Gasly. Isaac Hadjar, Q3 qualifying performance again for him in P9. Bortoletto, great Q3 for him in P10. Liam Lawson is in 11th. Yuki Tsunoda is in 12th. George Russell, suspected damage for him after collecting gravel as he was the next car after his teammate spun through turn 14. He is down in 13th. Alonso is in 14th. Stroll 15th. Alex Albon in 16th. Nico Hulkenberg 17th. Hamilton, as we saw, with that spin, with the rears locking into the bus stop chicane in 18th. Kimi Antonelli, of course, spun in turn 14 and was never able to recover, starting 19th. And Colapinto, who is in 20th and will be starting from the pit lane, potentially a double Alpine pit lane start, but we are yet to see whether Gasly will even start this race. But here we go, guys. Welcome. Hope you are well. The sprint race is getting very, very hot here. It's what's the temperature out there? 33.4 degrees, 20.9 degree air temperature there. Not the hottest that we've actually seen, at Spa. But yes, this sprint race has the potential to really heat up. It's a very long run, of course. It's full throttle all the way from the exit of turn 1 down to turn 5. Oscar Piastri will be punching a hole for Max Verstappen behind. He doesn't really want to be Max, probably even ahead into Eau Rouge. He'd like to be just behind so that he can slipstream and slingshot himself past the papaya of Oscar Piastri. But of course, he is starting on used compound tyres compared to brand new tyres of Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris behind him. But they are lined up. I think I pressed that too early. We'll go again. They're waiting for Colapinto to get to the end of the pit lane. Here we go, green light, away we go. A bit of a premature lights out there for myself, but Oscar Piastri down into turn 1. Have they made it through as Max Verstappen is ahead of Oscar Piastri, I think, into turn 1, but Piastri regains it from Max Verstappen, but he is right in that slipstream as they are pretty much as they were, heading through Eau Rouge and another over the top of Radion, and this is where this sprint race can be won or lost here for Oscar Piastri, because Oscar Piastri is being overtaken, I think, by Max Verstappen. You can see the interval time there. they're side by side. Is Max Verstappen ahead into turn 5? He is. Max Verstappen leads from Oscar Piastri into turn 5. And we have a race on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. 15 laps of this Sprint Grand Prix. And well, Max Verstappen has done exactly what he needed to do if he wants to win this sprint race today. He's got ahead of Oscar Piastri. We know that Oscar is very quick, but we know they're running more downforce. And Max Verstappen, in that more streamlined Red Bull, was able to comfortably swoop around the outside of Oscar Piastri. He had no response or defence at all. And well, similarly, Charles Leclerc, who's running a little bit less wing than Lando Norris, slingshotted himself past Lando Norris as well. So Charles Leclerc upper position, Max Verstappen upper position. Ocon has held off Carlos Sainz, as has Ollie Behrman, not been able to get past Carlos Sainz either. Hadjar's upper place, Bortoletto, all of those drivers are upper place due to Pierre Gasly, who has unfortunately not been able to start this race today due to a water leak. A real shame for Pierre Gasly, who made it into Q3 yesterday. But as they make their way through Blanchimont and into the braking zone of the bus stop, of course, DRS will be activated next time around. But Max Verstappen is in the ascendancy here. He has done what he possibly can. But will the superior, more balanced car of the McLaren be able to get past Max Verstappen? We will see. We haven't seen the Piastri or the McLarens really on the back foot this weekend. But let's see how they fare now. How much will Max Verstappen be able to pull away from Piastri, if at all, this time around as they make their way through Eau Rouge and Radion? It is Max Verstappen leading from Piastri with Leclerc in third with Norris in fourth. But here we go. DRS open for Oscar Piastri. How much does he actually gain on Max Verstappen as they head their way down into the braking zone at the end of the Kemmel, straight into Lake Coombe? And well, it is only around a couple of tenths, 3 tenths overall is what Oscar Piastri gained there up into Lake Coombe. And well, this is where Oscar Piastri needs to utilise the extra downforce that car has. We know that it was superior, so much more superiorly quick through the middle sector yesterday than that of the Red Bull. And of course, Max Verstappen will be sliding around a bit more with that lower downforce setup. You can see a little bit of a gap forming between the front two compared to Charles Leclerc, who's in P3 already. They'll be eating the dirty air while Max Verstappen will be punching a hole ahead in that clean air. It will help his size much better than that of Oscar Piastri behind, even though he has superior grip. But Piastri is not going to leave the rear wing of that Red Bull, you do suspect. But Verstappen leads from Oscar Piastri here with Charles Leclerc in P3, Norris is 4th, Ocon 5th, Sainz 6th, Behrman 7th, Hadjar 8th, Bortoletto 9th, Lawson is 10th, Tsunoda is 11th, Russell is 12th, Stroll is 13th, Alonso 14th, Albon is 15th, Hulkenberg 16th, Hamilton 17th, Antonelli is 18th, and Colapinto is 19th, and Gasly, a retirement from this race, a non-starter, unfortunately for him, as they make their way into the bus stop chicane for the second time, as they are starting their third lap of this 15-lap sprint race. Verstappen leads from Oscar Piastri, a fastest lap there for Oscar Piastri of 46.1. Is he closer than he was before? Let's keep an eye on the interval as he exits the traction zone of turn 1, and he's under half a second this time around out of turn 1. This is going to be much closer for Oscar Piastri on Max Verstappen this time around, up through Eau Rouge into the Kemmel, straight down into Lake Coombe, which is turn 5. Let's see how they fare. Norris also on the rear wing of Charles Leclerc. We'll see how he is, but Leclerc has gained the DRS of Oscar Piastri as Max is now starting to hold up the front 4 here. And well, Piastri got close, but not quite close enough. And well, Lando Norris will be thinking, can I get past Charles Leclerc so that I can even have an attack on my teammates right now? But Max Verstappen leads. 8 points is what he is going to score at this moment in time. Did what he needed to do at the start of this race and slingshotted with that lower downforce setup past Oscar Piastri into turn 5, but we can see here the extra, the dirty air that Charles Leclerc gets as he heads through No Name and through Pool. He just loses quite a significant amount of time, whereas Oscar Piastri is able to gain time on Max Verstappen, who is having to look after his tyres here, even in this short sprint race. Lance Stroll with the fastest first sector there in P13. He's up 2 positions and has actually got past his own teammate Fernando Alonso. So Alonso won't be too happy about that, of course, but at the moment it is pretty much as it is, as from the start of this race. No dramatic movements up and down this grid. But Oscar Piastri, I think, as we could see there, he is all under the rear wing of Max Verstappen. The track map looking like that it was getting a bit ahead of itself, showcasing that Piastri was ahead of Verstappen there, but no such thing with the additional low downforce setup and top speed that he has, Max Verstappen is able to hold off Oscar Piastri, even though he is in that slipstream and in that tow. But here we go again. Let's see if Oscar Piastri can really get close under braking and utilise the extra new tyres that he has, as Hamilton has got past Nico Hulkenberg into the bus stop chicane there. So Hamilton now up into P16. But we go again, and you can see Leclerc has really dropped off here, as Lando Norris, I think, is comfortably going to get past the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. He's 2 tenths back as they make their way over Radion. And I think Lando Norris, with the DRS open as he clicks it open now, makes his way through down the Kemmel Straight. Will he be able to get past Charles Leclerc before they even make it into the braking zone of turn 5, Leclerc? He does indeed. And there we go. Lando Norris now only 1 position behind his teammate Oscar Piastri, rather than 2, which was at the start of this race. Norris back up into P3 with Piastri still down a position from Max Verstappen. So Norris currently 2 seconds behind his teammate, who is being held off by Max Verstappen at the moment. Can he close that gap? And can he try and gain an initial point on his teammate that he would have been hoping for yesterday, until Piastri put in that stonker of a lap last time around? But we will see. He's been a little bit off of his teammate's pace. Well, actually, I say a little bit. He's been quite comfortably off of his teammate's pace for the whole of yesterday, and well, he is going to need to really put on the afterburners to try and catch up to the front 2 at the moment, as Max Verstappen still leads from Oscar Piastri. That gap now 6.5 tenths back. Will we see Oscar Piastri? Maybe. How would he be able to fare with his tyres as well? Of course, Spa is quite punishing on the tyres. The thing is, he needs to stay close to Max Verstappen to ensure that he can even get an opportunity of an overtake. And this is the problem about this setup for the McLarens, is that while in clean air, it is absolutely brilliant for them. When they are stuck behind a car in dirty air and a car that is quicker in a straight line, it is very, very difficult to overtake, as Oscar Piastri is finding out right now, as Charles Leclerc is already out of the DRS of Lando Norris there, 1.2 seconds back from the McLaren, as Lando Norris is just under 2 seconds back from Oscar Piastri. But let's see how much Oscar Piastri gains. He's around 6.5 tenths back as they made their way through Eau Rouge. With the DRS open, how much is he actually able to gain in a straight line with the assistance of DRS and the slipstream down into turn 5? And I tell you what, at the moment, that was quite considerable there. Maybe Oscar Piastri a little bit later on the brakes. He actually made around 3.5 tenths there. But that is showcasing really where the gap needs to be out of the exit of turn 1 for Oscar Piastri if he wants any opportunity to have an overtake down into turn 5, as Kimi Antonelli and Nico Hulkenberg are side by side into Leclerc. And Kimi Antonelli, who had a terrible qualifying yesterday, is now up into P17 with Colapinto lingering at the rear there on the soft compound tyre. And his pace is just falling off of a cliff already into the 48s, while the rest of the field is in the 47s. Actually, Charles Leclerc did a 48 last time around as well. So Charles Leclerc really slow that last lap for him. Of course, he did get overtaken by Lando Norris into turn 5, but still we'll keep an eye on Charles Leclerc's pace, as he is 1.7 seconds ahead of Esteban Ocon at the moment. But Lando Norris there pumps in a fastest middle sector out of anyone, while he is trying to gain on the front 2 of Verstappen and Piastri. That gap still staying at around 6 tenths between Verstappen and Piastri at this moment in time. And well, Piastri just not able to gain where it matters through that last sector. The middle sector is able to stay close, but he's not really gaining at the moment. And I guess the question really is here is, will Verstappen's tyres last on that low downforce setup? He's got to be thinking about managing his tyres through that middle sector, just holding off Oscar Piastri, because he has him comfortably in his back pocket at the moment. And you can see there, Piastri actually lost a bit of time on the traction zone out of turn 1. Around 6 tenths is the gap now, and we've seen that that's not going to be good enough for him to have an opportunity on Max Verstappen. He is not going to be able to swing past, as Lando Norris cannot gain at the moment either. Only a 46.3 from him last time around. He will still be feeling the dirty air of those front 2, even as far back as 2 seconds, while he is trying to close in. But welcome everyone, hope you are good, If you're just joining us, what has happened in this race? We are 6 laps into this race, and well, Pierre Gasly has finally got out there. He's 2 laps down. A real shame for Pierre Gasly. If you're just tuning in, unfortunately, he qualified 8th yesterday, but had to start, didn't even start this race when it should have done. He's already 2 laps down because of a water leak. Well, that's a real shame for Pierre Gasly, but of course, they're getting him out there because it is all important data for them in relation to all inputting information for them for their setup this afternoon. As Oscar is asked, how's the tyre doing? And he says, yeah, it's okay. Now, of course, Oscar Piastri wants to win this race, and he wants to put 2 points on top of his teammates in the championship as it currently stands, as Lando Norris pumped in a fastest middle sector there of 46.4 compared to Piastri, who just did a 46.8. But you can see Piastri still under the rear wing of Max Verstappen. He hasn't dropped outside of 1 second throughout this whole race since Verstappen has overtook him down into turn 5 on lap 1. But Lando Norris trying to gain in on his teammate here. But while I just mentioned there, Piastri wants to win this race. He'd love to win it and put 2 points between him and his teammate in the championship standings and make that 10 points. Ultimately, he's still gaining on his teammate right now by an additional point, and that would mean that he will, regardless if he finishes second tomorrow and his teammate wins, he will still lead into Hungary by a couple of points in this championship, and that's what matters, is still maintaining your lead as it currently stands. But Oscar Piastri losing a bit of time now to Max Verstappen. You can see there 7 tenths is the gap, so out of the traction zone of turn 1, he is starting to lose a bit of time, Oscar Piastri, or maybe, as I just mentioned, it's about making sure he's got enough tyres so that he doesn't fall into the clutches of his teammate, who is only really able at the moment to gain around a tenth per lap as it currently stands. But if Lando Norris does catch, you know for sure he is going to want to go for that move, and that is going to make things very interesting at the front with Max Verstappen potentially backing up the field. Which is crazy to say, as Yuki Tsunoda is coming under attack by George Russell down into turn 9 and through No Name. Through the rest of the field, it has been pretty boring at the moment. I'm not going to lie to you, there hasn't really been any changes of positions. The only changes of positions that I have noticed is Lance Stroll overtaking his own teammate Fernando Alonso. Hamilton has been able to get past Hulkenberg, as has Kimi Antonelli. But other than that, it has been pretty much as they started, and they've been unable to make any headway and any ground. Ollie Behrman is falling a little bit off of Carlos Sainz, which is interesting at the moment, but Ocon and Sainz doing tremendously well. Ocon in P5 at the moment, comfortably holding off Carlos Sainz, and well, I was thinking he might be hunting down Charles Leclerc, but no, Charles Leclerc does have enough pace. But that gap from Lando Norris to Oscar Piastri at the moment is 1.2 seconds. 1.2 seconds, Lando Norris to Oscar Piastri. He gained 6 tenths in that middle sector alone, Lando Norris on Oscar Piastri there. So not quite sure what happened to Oscar Piastri. Maybe just looking after his rear tyres, and just looking after his tyres in general, to be honest with you. Or maybe he is genuinely struggling. He did say his tyres were okay, but with that package he has on the car at the moment, he's not able to get past the more lower downforce, speedier top line speed setup that Max Verstappen has. As you can see, as Lewis Hamilton on the radio reports, I've got no rear already. Lewis Hamilton reports, so already struggling on the rear tyres. However, he is in the slipstream of Alex Albon. You can see a proper DRS train there. But he is a lot closer to Alex Albon than he has been for quite some time. And is this going to be a typical Lewis Hamilton? As Lance Stroll is falling through the field there. Is Lance Stroll falling through the field? Or is that just a bit of a blip on the track map there? I think that was a bit of a blip on the track map, as Lewis Hamilton was unable to get past Alex Albon as it currently stands. But these teams at the moment, in these dry conditions, struggling to get past one another, as they are all probably running quite similar low downforce setups. But you can see there the gap between Piastri and Verstappen. Well, maybe Piastri was just backing off for a little bit to try and cool off his tyres to ensure that he could go on the attack again. But you can see through turn 13 and 14 and even 15, he has just lost a bit of time. He got that time around to 4 tenths behind Max Verstappen, but then he lost it. But Lando Norris, who is on full attack mode at the moment, keeps gaining considerably in that middle sector. That gap is now down to 1 second. He's just outside of the DRS as it currently stands. Lando Norris, can he get into the DRS as they head into the braking zone of the bus stop? And he just loses a little bit of time there. There is DRS down this start-finish straight, so he's not going to get that. But he has, out of the traction zone of turn 19, has got within that 1 second range. And Lando Norris is now in the DRS of Oscar Piastri. The top 3 are separated by 1.6 seconds, with Charles Leclerc a further 3.5 seconds back. Norris set the fastest last sector last time around. And here we go. What does Oscar Piastri do? Does he go on full attack attack mode of Max Verstappen, or does he just focus in his rearview mirrors on his championship contender and teammate Lando Norris, who did lose a position at the start of this race due to Charles Leclerc and now finds himself in P3, and Oscar Piastri got really close to Max Verstappen there in the braking zone of turn 5, the closest he has done since he was overtaken. Under 3 attempts he got with 7 laps remaining. This is now or never for these guys. Max Verstappen, of course, is primarily out of this championship battle. He is only going to be gaining a point over Oscar Piastri and 2 points over Norris as it currently stands in the championship standings. Not enough to get him back into the championship. He needs some help and some DNFs from the 2 McLarens, but well, he has both of them in his rearview mirrors at the moment, but he is comfortably controlling the pace here. He comfortably has the top speed where it matters and is able to hold them off, and well, he'll be hoping that those 2 behind him tangle, as I think many of us are hoping for as well in this sprint race. We are halfway through, and well, it is potentially going to be a dramatic end here. Oscar Piastri 7 tenths behind Max Verstappen now, and Lando Norris is gaining in that middle sector. Norris at the moment has the legs over Oscar Piastri in that middle sector. Is that by design? Is Oscar Piastri just not quick? Is Oscar Piastri saving his tyres and not leaning on them so much in that dirty air of the Red Bull in that middle sector? Or is he genuinely struggling with his tyres more than he is letting on? 6 tenths back Oscar Piastri is from Max Verstappen. He's going to have to go on the attack, but also think about defending from his teammate as well, who'll be looking to take any opportunity that he can, as Carlos Sainz is in the DRS of Esteban Ocon, Hadjar in the DRS of Behrman as well, as he has been for quite some time. He might be on the attack, but the top 3 is separated by 1.3 seconds now. The top 3 are separated as they make their way over Radion with 6 laps remaining. Verstappen leads by 6 tenths from Oscar Piastri, with Lando Norris a further 6 tenths behind as well. And well, with a double toe, can Norris have an opportunity and peek his nose in at Oscar Piastri? Of course, Oscar Piastri needs to be sensible here, and well, that's what he's just done. He knows that he hasn't got the top speed, really, as he has done throughout this race, to get past Max Verstappen. And this is Max Verstappen's race. We knew it was all banking on whether or not he could lead into turn 5, and that is what he was able to do. Slingshot past the McLaren of Oscar Piastri, and he has never looked back. And Piastri with that quicker McLaren, but with arguably a slower race setup because of Max Verstappen having the quicker top speed and just able to hold back the McLarens where it matters in that middle sector. They're not able to utilise their advantage where they were quicker yesterday, and well, that is why Max Verstappen has just been able to maintain this lead. Brilliant driving from Max, and brilliant setup work by the Red Bull team as Max Verstappen leads by 8 tenths from Oscar Piastri now. And I am suspecting that I think maybe Oscar Piastri is losing a little bit of grip in his tyres, whereas Lando Norris has done much better. Of course, he has not been in the dirty air of Max Verstappen throughout this whole race, whereas Oscar Piastri has not dropped outside of the 1 second range from Max all race. So his tyres have been hurting a lot more than what Lando Norris's has, as he was able to clear eventually Charles Leclerc and breathe for a little bit with his tyres. But you can see there Max Verstappen losing a little bit of time out of turn 19 as Piastri 4 tenths back now. Look, he's been close. It's the closest he has been for quite some time. He's under half a second. Lando Norris in the rearview mirrors of Oscar Piastri as well. He is half a second back as they make their way through Eau Rouge for the 11th time here. And Max Verstappen could have to go on the defence here, but of course Oscar Piastri needs to be smart. He's 3.5 tenths back. Here we go. They're on the attack. Lando Norris is going to be patient and watch this unfold potentially. Is he going to go side by side into turn 5? No, he holds position. He got to 1 tenth behind Max Verstappen. And well, what we are watching here is Oscar Piastri being sensible and not leaving a door open for his championship contender, Lando Norris, behind him. He is only going to go for a move if he can absolutely make it. He is still gaining an additional points here as it currently stands in the championship standings, as Max Verstappen is indeed weaving a little bit down the start-finish straight, down the Kemmel straight to hold off Oscar Piastri and break the toe. And Oscar Piastri isn't really playing those games at the moment because, of course, as we mentioned, he doesn't want to leave the door open for his teammate behind. But this is really intriguing at the moment. Charles Leclerc in P4. The top 3 are separated by 1.3 seconds. Let's see that gap in the middle sector. So Lando Norris's lap times in the middle sector have now levelled out to around the 47-second mark, and he's being held back by his teammate. Really, at the moment, he's matching his middle sector times of his teammate Oscar Piastri as they make their way into the bus stop chicane. Charles Leclerc is not able to cope really with the pace of the top 3, as Max Verstappen says, yeah, I can't brake on the peak. and that's what Max Verstappen is saying at the moment. So he's not happy with his braking performance in that Red Bull. 4 laps remaining in this sprint race at the moment is Verstappen leading from Oscar Piastri with Lando Norris. All three separated by 1.2 seconds. Charles Leclerc is in P4 with Ocon in P5, holding off Carlos Sainz, who is in P6. We can see Ollie Bearman, a bit of a gap between him and his teammate battle as he is continuing to hold off Isaac Hadjar in P8. Bortoletto is in P9. He is trying to hold off Liam Lawson at the moment, who is in P10. Sonoda is in 11th. Russell is 12th. Stroll 13th. Alonso 14th. But Lando Norris is off. Lando Norris is off. What's happened between Lando Norris there? Lando Norris is off. No! Oh my goodness, or is he going slow? I really don't know what's occurring right now. I think it is just an issue with the track map. Oh my goodness, what is... I've just been given a heart attack, and I'm sorry if I gave you all a heart attack as well. Lando Norris's icon just stopped through Eau Rouge, and I thought that Lando Norris had lost control of the car through Eau Rouge, but he is still within 1 second behind his teammate Oscar Piastri. Oh my goodness there. Blooming track map. Apologies, I gave myself a heart attack. I'm sorry if I gave you guys a heart attack as well, but wow. The front three are still separated by just over a second. 1.4 seconds separate the top three as it currently stands. Oscar Piastri losing a little bit of time there in the middle sector as he is 9 tenths back from Max Verstappen now. So Oscar Piastri losing a bit of time here to Max Verstappen. And I'll tell you what, if he loses the DRS to Max Verstappen, that is going to really, really hurt him in his battle with Lando Norris and leave him really struggling as Norris is reported. Oscar's battery is mid-level. So Oscar Piastri not using his battery to its full extent at the moment, Oscar Piastri. As a fastest last sector there for Lando Norris. So Oscar Piastri managing his battery at the moment to ensure really that he's just able to hold off Lando Norris but not be too far on the attack when it comes to Max Verstappen. So maybe that's where Oscar Piastri at the moment is actually losing a bit of time to Max Verstappen. Just trying to manage this race and hold off Lando Norris. That is really where this battle is at for Piastri at the moment. No point in trying to get past Max Verstappen if it means that you're going to leave the door open for Lando Norris and lose a point in the championship, which could be very, very important come the end of the season. We do suspect it's going to go to the end of this season with how tight it has been between Piastri and Norris, and we do suspect, of course, the championship is primarily between those two drivers. But of course, situations like this, the McLaren is not this all-supreme being car. Yes, it is in clean air, but not in dirty air. It can't just sweep cars by and dispatch them like, say, the Red Bull and Max Verstappen could do in the past, or the Mercedes in the hybrid era. They do struggle if a car gets ahead of them, and it does make things interesting for us. With 2 laps remaining after this, we are on the 13 of 15 laps here. It is Verstappen leading from Oscar Piastri as he did since turn 5 on the first lap. Slingshotted past the McLaren as we suspected he would do. That's what he needed to do, and well, Oscar Piastri has managed the race very well thus far, only really going for moves if it was there, and Lando Norris has now caught up to him. He has been managing this race quite comfortably, and really, if there's going to be something happening in the closing stages of this race with 2 laps remaining once they cross the start-finish line, it is going to have to be relied upon from Lando Norris. Charles Leclerc unable to really close the gap on the front three. The Ferrari just does not have the pace. He is 4.5 seconds back. Ocon still holding off Carlos Sainz in P5 and P6. Further down, we can see that Fernando Alonso is getting a bit tangled up there with a battle with Alex Albon. I think Alonso has lost a few positions potentially there, unless that's a track map issue again. No, it is a track map delay, as Lewis Hamilton is only in 16th. He is behind Alex Albon and Fernando Alonso at the moment. There's a bit of a DRS train at the moment between Alonso, Albon, Hamilton and Antonelli, as we see Oscar Piastri for the penultimate time here down the Kemmel Straight into the braking zone into Les Combes, and well, he comfortably has enough to hold off Lando Norris, but not enough to get past Max Verstappen. Well, Max, with 1 more lap remaining and really 1 more attempt down the Kemmel Straight, you do think he is going to win this sprint race. Max Verstappen leads from Oscar Piastri half a second at the moment. 6 tenths at the moment it is, with Lando Norris in P3. Charles Leclerc, as we mentioned, P4, and Ocon P5 as it currently stands. Pierre Gasly down there in P20 at the moment. Real shame for him, but at least he was able to get out there and run some laps at this beautiful Spa circuit. But guys, if you've been enjoying this stream, please hit this like button and, of course, hit the subscribe button. Let's get this stream to 52,000 subs. Let's get streamed to 52,000 subs. We can do that, surely. Right, so Max Verstappen leads from Piastri and Norris through Blanchimont for the penultimate time in this sprint race. Of course, it's going to be very, very different conditions tomorrow, which is going to spice things up for us, no doubt. But Max has done exactly what he needed to do. There's one more defence that he needs to make down into turn 5. Oscar Piastri, unless he gets a real go at it, is not going to go for this move. It's all about covering off Lando Norris behind, who is 7.5 tenths behind his teammate at the moment. That gap will go out to 9 points at the end of this race. We'll have a look at the championship standings to see what the permutations are after this race. So Oscar Piastri, regardless of whether or not he wins tomorrow, loses the race tomorrow to Lando Norris, if he came second, he would still be leading. As Hamilton gets past Alex Albon, we have an overtake on track as we head down the Kemmel Straight one last time in this sprint race, and Oscar Piastri comfortably coasts behind Max Verstappen into turn 5, and well, you do suspect that will be it for this race on the final lap as Alex Albon gets back past Lewis Hamilton into turn 1. Alex Albon said, excuse me, thank you very much, I'll take that back. But is that a fool's errand by Alex Albon, as Lewis Hamilton with the DRS toes straight back past the Williams of Alex Albon? And I tell you what, Kimi Antonelli, who's also in the slipstream of the Williams of Alex Albon, could be thinking of a double over, losing two positions here. No, he doesn't. Lewis Hamilton holds on to it, as does Alex Albon, and well, Hamilton moves up into P15, and Antonelli is not able to get past Alex Albon there. But as we head through Stavelot 1 last time, through turn 14, Max Verstappen navigates his way through the tricky middle sector. He's been comfortably able to hold off the McLarens, and particularly Oscar Piastri. Oscar Piastri did not leave the DRS of Max Verstappen throughout this whole race since he lost the position, the lead into turn 5, but he will still gain 1 point over his championship rival and contender Lando Norris, who finishes in P3. As they come across the finish line, Max Verstappen wins the sprint race from Oscar Piastri in P2, Lando Norris in P3, and well, what very, very well executed plan by Max Verstappen. Charles Leclerc comes across the line in P4. Esteban Ocon P5, Sainz P6, Ollie Behrman P7, Isaac Hadjar P8. That's a double point scoring finish for Esteban Ocon and Behrman there in the Haas. Wow, what a start to their weekend. Bortoletto crosses the line in 9th and Lawson in 10th. No points for them as only the top 8 score points in the sprint race. Sonoda finishes in 11th, Russell 12th, Stroll 13th, Alonso 14th, Hamilton up 3 positions in 15th, of course. One of those is due to Gasly removing himself from P8 as he has to start from the pit lane because of a water leak on the grid. Albon in 16th, Antonelli 17th, Hulkenberg 18th, Colapinto 19th, and Gasly, as we mentioned, finishes 2 laps down in 20th. And there we go. Very, very, very... What do we say? Can I just... This is why you come to this watch-along stream, guys. What did I say at the start? What did I say was the plan? What did I say we would see? Just saying it. I'm just saying it. Jarvis, thank you for the gifted, by the way. Welcome, Shane. You have received a gifted by Jarvis, so much appreciated. Another day, another victory. The OG taking down the races to the end of the Kemmel Straight on lap 1. After that, it's follow my leader. Why do they get to drive over pickup in the sprint? I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't know why in the sprint they're allowed to do that, but the race they're not. I guess because obviously the race is the last official session of the weekend, so they want to get to the podium quickly. Will I stream tomorrow's race? I will be. Yeah, I'll be streaming the qualifying this afternoon as well. So it was a bit boring. I'm not going to lie to you. It was a little bit boring. Let's run a poll, shall we? Let's run a poll. I think that's why a sprint race at Spa doesn't really work, to be honest with you. I don't think it really works. Hang on. Rate the sprint race. I can only do this. Actually, I'll do... I don't think anyone's going to rate it a 10, are you? There we go. But Oscar Piastri, though. Oscar Piastri really managed that well because you have to play the percentages and you have to look at the bigger game. Ultimately, Oscar Piastri, look, he could have maybe try and poke to nose and push Max Verstappen out of position. But because Lando was right there with him, there's no point leaving the door open for Lando. So he managed it well. They said he was managing his battery, of course. It was on mid-level. That's him ensuring that he's got enough battery where he wants it. And he probably didn't want too much battery to leave him, to get him too close to Verstappen. Like, he didn't want to get too close to Max at the end of the Kemmel Straight, because otherwise you go side by side to the Lake Coombe, you're risking, of course, contact, and also you're risking that Lando can just go, thank you, and sneak through. So Leclerc would have done better if I had the magical Ferrari shirt on. I don't think anything could have made Leclerc do better, to be honest with you. I mean, Leclerc got ahead of Lando at the start of the race. Do I think Oscar could have been a little braver? He could have, but the question is, should he? No. The question is no. The run down into turn 5, he had no answer to Max, because the slipstream and the lower downforce setup and the top speed advantage that the Red Bull had. We said it before the race began. I said this is exactly what this is. This is a race to turn 5. If Oscar wins that race to turn 5, he wins, because that McLaren is so quick in clean air and in that middle sector. If not, then Max can hold off Piastri. And we will see whether or not, with DRS and the slipstream, if Piastri has enough in that McLaren, has enough top speed advantage to get back past. And he didn't, because he did have a number of laps, around 7, I think he had around 9 laps before Lando actually caught up to him. So that means that, yeah, Lando, similarly though, also couldn't get close enough to Piastri, because Piastri was managing it comfortably, and he had the slipstream and the tow along from Max ahead. If Max was able to pull away from Piastri, then it would have been probably different, and Piastri and Norris would have battled it out a bit more. So, Alan, observation from trackside. You heard the engines crackling like Jake brake when coasting through the second half of Pouhon. Didn't hear it during quali or sprint. Heard it on the cooldown lap. Ah. Yeah, that'd be obviously the engine back up. So, sector time. Yeah, let's have a look at the championship standings after that, though, guys. Of course, there is only 1 point difference across down to the top 8. So you can see there that, look, 1 point difference between Piastri and Norris, 7 points compared to 6 there. So that gap now 241 to 232. So that's now sitting at 9 points. So even if, and there's no guarantee that this will happen, but let's say Norris wins the race tomorrow and Oscar Piastri finishes second, then there is only 7 points difference there, and that means that Oscar Piastri will still lead going into Hungary next week. So, yeah, Lando really needed to try and get one over Piastri in this race to at least ensure that if he won both races, he'd lead going into Hungary. But that's not going to be the case. It still could be the case, of course, if Lando wins or Piastri finishes outside the top 4 or whatever. There's no guarantee either of them will win, as we just saw with the sprint race here. But yes, weather conditions are showing that it is going to be a bit more wet on Sunday. We may even get some rain this afternoon when it comes to qualifying. There is an outside chance, but tomorrow is definitely looking like it's going to be a very, very different race. You said I sounded insane last time at Silverstone rooting for Stroll top 3, but now I'm hoping again a Stroll for podium. Why does Williams get paid much less than McLaren and Ferrari to stay in F1? A fair point, to be honest with you. Well, I think Ferrari are the only ones who get like a heritage payment. I think they're the only ones who get a heritage payment. I don't think McLaren do. I don't think Williams do. And then, of course, the only money that they get from F1 is like directly from the FIA is, of course, from having where they finish in the constructors. So people can stop saying the Red Bull was slow, too fast with DRS to make it stick. It's not slow by any means, but it's definitely not the best all-round package. There's certain circumstances where it is the quickest. Now, it still isn't the quickest car here. So what you saw here, and you can do this on the sim and things like that as well. What is the quickest car over a single lap doesn't always necessarily mean it's the quickest over a race distance. But also it doesn't mean, what we've seen here is how different setups can be an advantage to you in a certain scenario and how it can be a disadvantage to you. So in clean air, Oscar Piastri is, as we saw yesterday in qualifying, unreal. It's the quickest car by far. However, in dirty air, if it loses a position to a car that's got a higher top speed at a track where, of course, you need top speed, you're on full throttle for 70% of it, and that's where the main overtaking opportunities are, it doesn't matter if you've got a car that's quicker in through the middle sector. If you don't have the additional grip, you don't have the tyre offsets, and you also don't have, of course, it's with all the dirty air, you can't get past. You can't get past. So that's why sometimes you can just be a roadblock. And in effect, that's what Max did. Max had one opportunity to win this race today. That was slingshot it past Oscar Piastri down into turn 5. If he didn't do that, we said we'd see you later, Oscar Piastri, and he would win this race comfortably in clean air. But he didn't. Max executed what he needed to do in that pressure moment, and then he just completely held off those McLarens when, he didn't have the fastest car, but he had the fastest car in a top speed. So, strategy, guys. Would you risk overtaking ahead of qualifying? Where did Haas get the speed? Haas have obviously just taken off all of the. Haas have just taken off a lot of downforce. That's why they're just so quick in a straight line. But qualifying, yeah, I mean, it's going to be very interesting this afternoon because it could be a dry qualifying. It's most likely going to be a dry qualifying, but then the race tomorrow is going to be wet. So we're going to see probably wet setups. So more downforce dependent setups in dry conditions. And that means most likely probably a boring McLaren 1-2, to be honest with you. Because Max won't be able to run a lower downforce setup. I don't think the strategy that we saw today will be able to be implemented for tomorrow because of the weather conditions. A lower downforce setup just isn't going to cut it tomorrow. So you do need more wing. Get rid of sprint races. I think it's just... I think this track just doesn't suit sprint races, to be honest with you. Doesn't suit it, so... Unless they implement a pit stop in sprint races and you have to still change tyres, but I don't know. I think there's just certain tracks where sprint races work and they don't work. And this is the second time we've been here at Spa for a sprint race, and I just don't think it works. So, will the Red Bull suffer in the wet? Depends on the overall setup. I think it will be, it will not be as quick as the McLarens, for sure. Do I think Red Bull used a higher downforce wing today? Max was fastest in Sector 2, which requires high downforce, and slower in Sector 1. Let's have a look, shall we, at sector times? No, because they're not able to change the downforce package. If they do that, then they would have to brake part firm, and they'd have to start from the pit lane. So no, what it is. So the reason why obviously the McLarens can only go so quick through the middle sector, so they have to adhere basically to Max's pace for the middle sector because they can't overtake. So that's why the sector times in a race aren't always necessarily worth looking at so much, because obviously there's circumstances behind it. But you can see there, I mean, Norris had the fastest second sector. Verstappen was second fast. I mean, Piastri was dominant in that middle sector yesterday, but he was 3 tenths behind Max because he was following Max throughout and couldn't get past him. And then in the last sector, they were the quickest. But yeah, I mean, Max was quite slow in the middle sector, but also sometimes there's strategy for the first sector. You don't always necessarily want to go as quick as possible. If you remember, you don't want the driver behind to get a proper slingshot past you. Remember Lewis Hamilton lifting a little bit through Eau Rouge to ensure that he backed up Sebastian Vettel, so that he also had to lift and couldn't fully slingshot past him those years ago down into turn 5. So there's also that as well, that element. And you have to remember, Max also didn't have the DRS available to him because he was always at the front. So he never had DRS available to him to have that additional top speed that you would have in qualifying. So if we get rain during a sprint run, we could see pit stops for inters or wet. Otherwise, probably not. No. I threw, actually, when I was thinking about it, having a mandatory pit stop in a sprint race just doesn't work because the tyres, the whole idea of a pit stop is obviously the tyres wearing off, and yeah, you wouldn't get that. So Qualifying then sprint, they could race more. No, we tried that, and I don't think it works. I think having quali, I think the format now works in the way it does. So get rid of ground effect era cars, period. These cars, get rid of these cars in particular. So Giardo, you don't have to set up the car for 100 kilograms of fuel to keep ride height regulations. So when on low fuel at the end of the race, yes, there's also that element to it as well. Yep, 100%. That's why we've seen a bit of a change up of the order in some of the sprint races, particularly at the start of the season, because of that. And then, of course, when it comes to qualifying in the afternoon and the race on Sunday, that order reverts again because they have the issues that they normally have in normal races. So, did the Red Bull upgrade affect the run? I don't think so. No, not really. I should be a team principal. No, I'm all right, thanks. Who else would have a chance in the rain? Obviously, we always say the usual suspects with drivers and things like that, but I just don't think in the rain you can look past the McLarens. I think what we saw at Silverstone, how we've seen them perform in the rain, like the track would play more into their hands because people would have to add more downforce to their car, and McLaren probably wouldn't have to make really that many changes to their car. They would increase their advantage probably at the top with wetter conditions than now with teams able to hold them back with lower downforce setups. So, according to you, what is the best race of the first half of 2025? I think what have we had? I have such a short memory now. I think Silverstone was very good. Silverstone was a very good race. I'm always biased towards Silverstone. I think Red Bull Ring, the battle between Norris and Piastri was very good. I know it fizzled out a little bit in the second half. Bahrain was a very good race. I enjoyed that one. They're the three that come to mind. So, timeout. Right. That's it for me, guys, though. I've got to go film something for the Missed Apex podcast now. So I will see you guys in a few hours' time. Thank you for the new members. Thank you for everyone for liking and subscribing, as always. Over 51,000 subs now, 51,100 subs now. So big thank you. Continue to get this stream to over 1,000 likes. We much appreciate. And we will see you in a few hours' time for quali. I think it's 3 o'clock this afternoon. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. We'll see what the weather's going to do. Let me just refresh it so that I can see what it's showing. Looks like they may get away with it. Looks like they may get away with it. It may be dry. But still, tomorrow is showing wet all day. So it's going to be a dry quali with wet setups. That could really spice up the order. So, yeah, we will see. A big thank you, guys. I'm going to run a poll of who you think is going to get pole position. So head over there, and we'll see you in a few hours. Bye, guys.